I'm Al Bacon, and I would like to welcome you to my Let's Fix It Right channel for easy and straightforward solutions for your home improvement, maintenance, and repair needs and projects. And this is my faithful assistant Cody, who will help us get this project right with his dogged determination and helpful project tips. In this episode, Cody and I will show you how to quickly and easily install a stair handrail over metal balusters on a knee wall staircase similar to mine. This includes appropriate measuring, cutting, drilling, gluing, and painting the handrail, knee wall top, and balusters. As background information, it is very important for you to review these two Let's Fix It Right episodes prior to watching this handrail and baluster video. Episode 70 will show you how to measure and cut a post-to-post handrail perfectly with my sliding jig design. And episode 71 provides the basic trigonometry knowledge to quickly and easily calculate baluster spacing on a knee wall staircase. In addition, episode 71 provided these key facts and measurements necessary to start this handrail and baluster installation. Per Cody's tips, most residential building codes do not allow baluster spacing to exceed 4 inches or permit a 4-inch ball to pass anywhere between them. This safety requirement obviously prevents infants and toddlers from getting their heads stuck between any two balusters. These are our baluster distances. As discussed, our inside distance of 3.75 inches is less than our 4-inch code requirement. And, as I mentioned, 4.25 inches is our centerline drilling distance for the balusters. We've also allocated 3.047 inch spaces on the outside of the 1st and 12th baluster. As shown here, using the cosine function from episode 71, the 4.25 inch horizontal centerline distance converts to 5 9/16 of an inch along the 40-degree angle top of the knee wall. Most importantly, this 5 9/16 of an inch knee wall distance ensures a horizontal distance of 3.75 inches between the balusters, which is less than the 4-inch code requirement. To assist with the layout, I put together this drilling pattern showing the 12 baluster locations, which are 5 9/16 of an inch apart. To ensure that I didn't ruin the top of my knee wall made of high-grained pine, I developed this scrap plywood test jig with baluster holes drilled 5 9/16 of an inch apart. As you can see, these balusters are horizontally 3.75 inches apart, which meets our code requirement. So it's okay to start drilling our baluster holes at this time. Okay, so at this time, we're going to transfer the measurements from our template onto the top of our actual knee wall. Okay, so that concludes the transferring of these template distances to the top of the knee wall. I've drawn the center line of the top of the knee wall along here, and the center points for each of the 12 baluster holes are laid out here. To assist in drilling pilot holes, I'll go ahead and tap these in at this time. Using my level with a short extension attached, I've transferred all of the centerline marks for the balusters from the knee wall up to the handrail. We're in good shape, so at this time, we're ready to drill the top of the knee wall. I've drilled a small pilot hole for each baluster. In addition, I've captured this angle and applied the angle to this block that I'm going to use as a drill guide. Rather than a spade bit, I'm opting to use a Forster bit to drill the soft pine on top of the knee wall for a cleaner hole. We're going to drill 1/2 inch deep holes on the knee wall and 1 1/2 inch deep holes on the bottom of the handrail. Okay, so using the Forster bit, see it's a little bit more controlled. Along with my drill guide. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we switched over from the spade bit to the Forster bit. I get a little bit better cut with the Forster. And I went down at a minimum of 1/2 inch on the top. In most cases, probably a little bit more, but you want a minimum of 1/2 inch. And the key is to, if you can keep this depth uniform and this exactly the same throughout, you don't have to make any adjustments is when you're installing the balusters. In this case, I think my depth varies a little bit here and there, so I'll have to be very attentive to the balusters. But I do have at least 1/2 inch depth, and we're ready to go. Okay, so I've set up the handrail. I've removed it from the stairwell, and I've set it up here and marked all the points for our 5/8 inch Forstner bit drill for the balusters, and I've nail set these and pre-drilled the starting holes on all those. I have my block set up here, and I also have the depth set at 1.5 inches on the top side. So let's go ahead and start drilling this time. Okay, a lesson learned that's worthwhile for you noting is I've decided to use both my Forster bit and my spade bit for cutting. Forster bit does well to start off with for a good accurate start. We'll start with come in with my block. And as you can see, the Forster bit sort of gets bogged down in that hardwood. So then I've set my drill on low speed for my spade bit, and I'll come in here sort of have to watch that spade bit because it'll get away from you. But this time we'll clean this up and see what we have. And the final test is to see that the baluster fits in there very nice. So we've got a good fit on the baluster, nice tight fit on these first two holes. So we'll go with that. So we'll continue this process throughout the rest of the handrail here. Okay, so I'm on my last hole here, and I've improved the process as I've moved down the line here. So show you what I've done here. Starting here with the Forstner bit, we've already have our pilot drill started. We'll go in. We'll move it that cleaned up. We'll move to our spade bit and take it down to the depth. Take it down there to the depth, clean it up with a Forster. vacuum out all the debris, sawdust and debris. Check to ensure that we've reached our 1.5 inches, which we have. And lastly, I've cut off a square section of this to facilitate the installation of each one. Pound that in. Turn that. Make sure we have a good turn. And in some cases I had to rerun the Forster bit through those, but in this case we didn't. So that completes our drilling. So I initially mentioned that the vertical distance between the top of the knee wall and the bottom of the handrail is 25 and 1/16 of an inch. The depth of our cut here in the knee wall is 1/2 of an inch, and the depth of our cut up into the handrail is 1.5 inches. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to measure our initial pieces here, our initial balusters, to be 25 and 1/16 plus 1/2 inch plus another inch was going to give us 26 and 9/16 of an inch for our first trial run. So we'll try that and see how that works out, and then move on to the rest of the balusters. The process I used for sizing and cutting my metal balusters called for starting with these 4 plain metal balusters with no designs to center the other balusters between the knee wall and the handrail. I used this plain number 1 baluster to size and center the design of the number 2 baluster as shown here. Notice that I centered the ornaments within the center of the span here. Then using the number 2 baluster, I will size, center, and cut the other 3 balusters with this design. After completing that, I will use this process to size and cut the 3rd baluster with a different design. In other words, I centered these twisting patterns using the same approach. Using the number 2 baluster that I mentioned before, I'm using this as a pattern to cut and size follow-on 3 balusters, the same ornamental decoration. So I've got it set up aligned with another baluster next to it, the number 5 baluster, and I'm going to transfer that distance over to the other baluster at this time. Okay, so I have that distance transferred. So now I'll move it over to the other side of the workbench and cut it with my angle grinder. Okay, so I'm set up over here on the other opposite side of my workbench, and I'm going to clamp the baluster down on the bench temporarily. And these are the 2 points, or the 2 measurements that I just took. Okay, so now that I have that number 5 baluster cut, I'll trim the burrs off the edge of it. Okay, so that completes the cutting and trimming of the number 5 baluster. I then completed cutting the other 2 balusters with this design. I've cut and temporarily installed the 4 additional ornamental balusters, as you can see here. They all fit perfectly. So as you can see here, I'm using the same process to measure and cut my last 4 balusters with the 3rd design. This is what all the balusters look like when temporarily installed. So at this time, I'm going to disassemble the unit and paint the knee wall and handrail. I've completely sanded and finished the high quality top of the knee wall. And I've covered the baluster holes with tape to keep paint out of these holes, which will later be filled with contractor's adhesive. I've covered the handrail connection to the newel, which still needs several coats of paint. And then over here on the handrail, I've also covered its baluster holes and endpoint connections with tape. Lastly, I taped the connection on the handrail's top mounting plate so we'll have good wood-to-wood contact for gluing. I've started painting my handrail, and altogether I plan to cover it with 1 coat of primer and 4 coats of high-quality paint. Okay, so I finished the first coat on the handrail. You can see it came out fairly good, and the upper mounting plate. So I'm going to move over here and start on the top of the knee wall. I've completed 5 coats of enamel on the top of the knee wall plate. As you can see, the protective masking tape over the baluster holes held up good. Protective layer of tape over the handrail connection to the newel is also good, and I've added 5 coats to the newel itself. And over here I also added 5 coats to the handrail end plate as well as the handrail. I'm really good at making a mess, so I've added painter's tape to all the knee wall surface areas around each baluster hole, which will be filled with contractor's construction adhesive. This will keep the adhesive from oozing out the sides and damaging the paint job. I also masked around the handrail connection to the upper mounting plate. To do this, I use my pattern up here and down here on the newel. Over here on my table, I have my balusters laid out in order from 1 to 12. And I've masked the circumference around both ends of the handrail. I've glued all of the bottom baluster connections in place with Loctite PL 375 contractor's adhesive. Starting at the bottom of the handrail, I'll insert all of the balusters one by one until all of them are in place. So we'll start these in sequence from the bottom to the top, as I've just done. You can see we have them all in place at this time. So at this time we'll move the handrail up a little higher and in place as we come in up here at the very top. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so I'll screw this one in place. And come down here to the lower screw it in place. Okay, so with everything installed, I'll push my lower covers for each baluster in place. Now these are not secured with Allen heads like the upper covers are, and you see those go down and fit real nice and secure. And then for the upper covers, I'll go ahead and tighten up my Allen head position. As you can see, that's provides for a very sturdy installation, and the glue will dry and it'll be even more sturdy. I've completely installed all of the balusters. This includes the lower foot covers and the upper foot covers. The uppers are Allen head fastened, so they are securely in place. The balusters are very sturdy with the glue down below and the Allen head fasteners above. The only other thing to do is to fill our upper and lower handrail screw holes here and here with plastic wood, and do a little bit of spot painting and touch up. Otherwise, the job is done. This concludes this episode where Cody and I showed you how to quickly and easily install a stair handrail over metal balusters on a knee wall staircase similar to mine. It's been a hard day's work for Cody. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and select the YouTube bell, so YouTube will notify you of all my new projects immediately after I publish them. At this time, Cody and I are moving on to our next project. You're more than welcome to follow.